Transformers 1 is just days from release, and I have to admit that I am extremely excited. I've been a Transformers fan for as long as I can remember, and it's amazing that we're finally getting a movie that talks about the origins of these two legendary characters. But when I first saw the official poster for Transformers 1, I wondered, could I create a version that captures the excitement even better? And I know, trust me, it's one designer versus Hollywood, but I am always up for a good challenge. So go ahead and stick around and see if my poster can match or even outshine Hollywood's version. And the best part is, you guys get to be the judge. All right, here's the plan. I got all of my design tools ready, and I have been studying everything that we know about Transformers 1 so far. Now, starting with a blank Photoshop canvas, I had a super dope idea to kind of do a split kind of headshot version of this poster with like Optimus Prime on the right or Megatron on the left, something along those lines, something that speaks rivalry, if that makes sense. I cut out their headshots and kind of like made sure their shoulders were straight, and I tried like this cool little neon kind of glow background from the trailer, but you'll quickly realize that that didn't really fit. It was not long until I realized that I had to move on from this, so I decided to just go ahead and just start laying stuff out on the canvas and kind of see what stuck. And fortunately, one of those things were these awesome renders from Envato Elements that allowed me to photo manipulate like my own bridge scene. I added this little edge guard thing at the edge of the bridge, which is super fantastic because bridges don't just float in midair, and I also got these sci-fi walls to really create like a ledge feel. So then I went ahead and hit Google to look for the best images of Optimus Prime and Megatron that I could find for this fight scene that I wanted to build up. That is until I came across a company called YOLO Park, which looked to be releasing their own model kits for the characters of the film that look extremely realistic and awesome. I'm personally probably going to buy some of these myself when they release, but I did find this image of Megatron that they posed and everything, and I decided that it would be perfect for this poster. And just before we continue, I wanted to personally give a big thanks to YOLO Park for the images that I did in fact end up using for this poster. Obviously, all of the rights belong to them, and this is purely just a fan-made project for an experiment, so just wanted to put that out there. I went ahead and cut out these stills from YOLO Park and made sure that they looked really solid in the scene, and dare I say they looked badass. Whatever they are cooking up looks fantastic. Unfortunately, now I've got my characters into my scene and I've got the headshots going and everything like that, but the ledge looked a little bit weird, so I decided to kind of like shrink down the headshot and just kind of move forward tediously to make sure that I didn't make anything that looked a little too odd. I really wanted to have this really awesome scene where I kind of had like an overview look of Cybertron with Megatron and Optimus fighting, but I quickly realized that with the only images we have available of Cybertron itself so far, this was not going to work out how I originally anticipated, which is okay. It happens. I decided to take a pause for the Cybertron image and really just address what is happening with like this platform vibe that I have going on here. So I got these platforms from Envato Elements and really manipulated them into the scene to make it look like we're kind of standing on a rooftop or like a bridge that is actually constructed and not floating in midair. I also added some more sci-fi walls on the side to almost make it look like the bridge had like a very steep drop at the very end of it. I messed around a little bit more with like the Cybertron look in the background, and I'm not gonna lie, it still is not sitting with me, but we're not gonna get rid of it just yet. So I went ahead and grabbed Bumblebee and Alita from these badass photos that I did find from the Transformers 1 account on Twitter. I kind of had an idea where I could put the Autobots on the Autobot side and the Decepticons on the Decepticon side to really create like a nice family dynamic and also create some fantastic character composition. And then for the Decepticon side, I really wanted to have like Soundwave and Starscream because those two characters are personally some of my favorites. I mean, I even have like a giant like 10-inch scale model of Soundwave in my room. I absolutely love Soundwave. And with Starscream, I would love to include him too. The only problem is I don't have any images of him. So I went ahead and settled for Shockwave. And once I had all four in the canvas, I realized that we really had something special going on here. The only problem is it looks a little cramped. So what can we do to fix that? I decided to go ahead and get rid of Cybertron and move all four characters to the front of Optimus and Megatron, which definitely ended up being the correct decision. I even played around with like these Northern Lights sunset vibes because with a lot of the Transformers 1 posters, they do play on like this really cool scenery, and to even reinforce the Northern Lights idea more, I used an equalizer brush and I kind of like added it above the Alita and the Bumblebee and all of the other characters to make it look like they were almost like shining out of the ground. And this became extra apparent when I started adding color like the blues and the pinks and the reds and the oranges. I did realize that something in the middle of this poster was missing, like right behind where Megatron and Optimus were fighting on the bridge. I kind of cracked out and realized that I could probably put the Autobots and Decepticons logo somewhere in here, so I decided to try something. And after a while, I was literally thinking to myself, like, how am I gonna make this split look good? And after a couple of minutes of work, we ended up with this. Look at that. That is insane. I'm actually pretty stoked with how this looks. I mean, that's a pretty convincing hologram effect, so let's just say I've outdone myself. Now here comes the fun part, the painting the light on the characters. I did start painting a lot on like the rims of Bumblebee and the metal parts to really make the light look like it was hitting him realistically. Once I got the 4 main core characters down, I decided to start working on the overall headshots like above everybody else, like the lighting and all of that stuff. I feel like I've said lighting so many times. Like if I had $1 for every time I said lighting in this video, I'd probably be a millionaire. Lighting. I added some pink glows and some blue glows to like the bottom horizon line, which ended up being sick, and I also added the glows to the equalizer brush that we added earlier because obviously these would be glowing. I mean, look at the lighting that's around these bad boys. Now the part that I was absolutely dreading. This whole time while I'm designing this poster, I'm thinking to myself, how am I supposed to tackle this bridge scene with Optimus and Megatron fighting? I went ahead and just started painting some shadows on the bridge to see what happens. But I'm not gonna lie, after this, I did throw my PC out the window about 3 to 4 times. But then I came back and I started working on lighting on Optimus and Megatron, which actually came out pretty badass. But then one of the second biggest challenges of this poster came up. How can I make this bridge scene interesting? It just wasn't hitting for me just yet, until I realized that there's these like reddish lines right in the center of the bridge, literally smack center. I can make those lights and I can make them red, and that's exactly what I did. I don't know why I'm saying like I will do it. I did do it. Also, it was important that the bridge actually had color, because if it didn't have color, then it wouldn't look like it belonged to the scene. So I decided to prioritize that first. Now I was finally ready to tackle the highlights on Optimus Prime correctly this time. So I went ahead, did my blend if, you know, shebang, and then I started painting these red highlights on Optimus with the correct light, like, you know, hitting his underarm, hitting different parts of the metal, and we ended up with this. I personally think that these highlights worked out pretty well, especially when it came to Megatron, because you've got a back red light that is going to be hitting his back foot and a whole bunch of other different parts of his metal, so we had to make sure to get it right. What a journey this has been so far. The bridge looks great, the characters look great, everything looks great, especially with their highlights and everything and the big shebang. But the heads are still looking weird at the top, so I grabbed a smoke brush and I blended them into the galaxy sky that we picked from earlier, which, not gonna lie to you guys, paid off big time, because it almost made them look like they were a part of space and shit. It reminds me of like, unfortunately, it reminds me of like Rise of Skywalker, that one poster with like Palpatine and the stars. I did not need to unlock that memory. But now, I figured it was finally time to add some final touches and some atmospheric effects. So I took some smoke brushes and I, you know, painted them along the side of the horizon line of the bridge, which paid off. It looks fucking badass. I decided to paint some smoke on the image of Megatron and also the image of Optimus Prime, kind of like, you know, they're smoking hot, because hypothetically they would be like shooting blasters at each other. Perverts. It's not what I meant. I then decided to add the logo back into place, and I painted some glows on top of it and made it look like it actually belonged in the poster, and I was pretty pleased with where this was going. And at this point, it was finally time to add the slogan, which is "Witness the origin" or "Watch the origin." It just felt right. I put a lens flare on Shockwave's eye and Bumblebee's shoulder and Optimus Prime's shoulder, and then when I was messing with the last lens flare, it unlocked the final touch I didn't realize I needed with this piece. I threw it into the canvas and I was trying to put it on the Autobots and the Decepticon logo, but then for some weird reason my brain said rotate. I moved it up, and how sick is that? I had no idea I needed this to actually blend the headshots, but holy shit, it paid off. I am so happy. So happy, in fact, that I decided to hop my ass into Camera Raw and do some color corrections. I blurred the smoke a little bit and I added some awesome chromatic aberration, which led us to this final product. All right, there you have it. That is my take on the Transformers 1 poster. But the question is it better than Hollywood's? I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys decide. Let me know in the comments if my poster stands a chance against Hollywood or if they still reign supreme. And again, I wanna give a huge thanks to YOLO Park for the images that I did end up using in the poster. I think it completed the look and it is just super fantastic how they came out. If you enjoyed me taking on this challenge, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe and maybe even share it with another Transformers fan. But until then though, keep being creative, keep having fun, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.